Hello students, today we'll study the second poem from your class 12th syllabus from your book Flamingo, an elementary school classroom in a slum, written by Stephen Spender. It is a very difficult poem. In this particular video, I'm going to give you the stanza-wise explanation, the theme of the poem, the various poetic devices which have been used in this poem, and all the board important questions in this particular video will be given. So please listen to it very carefully. Now coming to the theme of the poem, the poet Stephen Spender in this particular poem highlights the perpetual, that is the continuous state of poverty which is prevailing among these slum dwellers. Now you know what is slum? It's a jhuggi jhopdi. So Stephen Spender described these children as pale, malnourished, unclean and untidy. Instead of being exuberant means joyous and energetic, they seemed tired, withered, sick and hungry. Their uncombed hair was scattered untidily around their faces like unwanted rootless weeds. Their condition was miserable and they were unwanted people in the society. The poet, through his poem, makes an earnest appeal to his readers, that is you, especially the educated and the well-off people, the government, the bureaucrats, people in power, to help the poor children of the slum come out and get free from their miserable surroundings. His appeal is that these children should be given quality education because education holds the key to their emancipation. They should also be provided basic civic amenities, infrastructure, and opportunities to explore the world. Now coming to the first stanza. Far, far from the gusty waves, these children's faces like rootless weeds, the hair torn around their pallor, the tall girl with a weighed down head, the paper-seeming boy with rat's eyes. Now gusty means strong, blowing very strongly, having lot of force. And weeds are the unwanted plants, basically jungly plants जो अपने आप पैदा हो जाते हैं. So pallor means pale and dull face. So pointing towards the pathetic condition of the children in the slum, the poet says that their life is a sharp contrast to the open and healthy environment beyond their slums. They are far away from the activity and jubilations of life. He talks about the unkept hair of these children, which are haphazardly scattered over their pale and dull faces to rootless weeds. One of these children is a tall girl whose head is drooping under the burden of unwanted life. So burdened is she by the responsibilities of life that her head seems to be bowed down. A small boy in the same school is very skinny, weak and timid. The poet compares him to a thin sheet of paper. His hungry eyes, like that of a rat, are constantly searching for food, shelter and contentment. Now coming to the poetic devices used in this particular stanza, two times the word far has been repeated. So the poetic device used is repetition. Like rootless weeds. So the hair and these children are compared to rootless weeds. Like the weeds are the unwanted plants, simply they are the unwanted people in the society. So the comparison is there and the word like is used. So the poetic device used is simile. Now the eyes of the boy have been compared to the eyes of a rat. And since there is a comparison and we are not using any word like as or like, so the poetic device uses metaphor. Now coming to the second stanza, the stunted unlucky heir of twisted bones reciting a father's gnarled disease, his lesson from his desk. At back of the dim class, one unnoted, sweet and young, his eyes live in a dream of squirrel's game in tree room other than this. Stunted means not proper grown or developed. Gnarled means knotted, rough and twisted. Malnutrition has kept this thin boy short and stunted. He's not grown properly. He's not been given nutritious food. So he's having stunted growth. He's an unfortunate heir of deformed, twisted body. He has inherited disease and pain from his father. When he recites his lesson from the dead, his voice becomes mellow and weak. He lacks in enthusiasm. Somewhere in the remote corner of the poorly lit and ill-equipped class, one can see a young and a sweet pupil, unnoticed by others and lost in his world of dreams. He creates his own fantastic world where he plays and frolics around like a squirrel in a tree room. The dull and monotonous rut of the classroom does not interest him. So he is different from the rest of the children in this particular classroom. Rest of them are so miserable, they do not hope of a bright future. But this person is very hopeful of a bright future. He wants to live in his own fantasy world. So the father's gnarled disease. So His body is just like that of his father, and there is a comparison which is made, so the poetic device uses metaphor. Now, squirrel game, the boy wants to enjoy just like a squirrel does. So, again, a comparison, so the poetic device is metaphor. Tree room, he wants to enjoy, play and frolic like a squirrel does in his true room. So, the poetic device uses metaphor. Now, coming to the questions that have been generally asked. How does the poet describe the slum children? Stephen Spender describes these children as pale, malnourished, unclean, and untidy. Instead of being exuberant and energetic, they seem tired, withered, sick, and hungry. Their uncombed hair are scattered untidily around their faces like unwanted, rootless weeds. Their condition is miserable, and they are unwanted people in the society. Now, why has the tall girl weighed down head? The tall girl has weighed down head because she is depressed, stressed, and strained by the problems of her life. The trials and tribulations of life and atrocities of the society have overburdened her. She is so oppressed by her miseries that her body seems to be bowed down with its burden. The poet describes that there is a student who is different from all the other students. How is he different? The poet describes that there is a boy who is different from all the other students. He is distinct because he is not bothered by the rut of life. He is lost in his dreams in the remote corner of the class. His eyes, like the others, are not full of despair, but gleam with the ambition of a bright and a happy future. Now, what is a squirrel game? A squirrel is full of fun and frolic. It enjoys playing freely in the garden. It darts from place to place and tree to tree. It is thrifty and saves like leftover piece of food and stores in its tree hole. The tree hole hides every saving of the squirrel, and similar is that of the boy. The boy also wants to play like a squirrel and enjoy in the lap of the. Now this is the third stanza on sour cream walls donations. Shakespeare's head, cloudless at dawn, civilized home riding all cities. Belt flowery Tyrolese valley, open-handed map awarding the world its world. The classroom of elementary school has not been maintained properly. The walls have been painted long ago. It's been so many years. So cream is white in color and sour cream turns yellow. So khatti jab ho jati hai na cream, so it starts turning yellowish in color. So it's been so long since the walls have been painted, so the color of the walls have become sour cream in color. So the pale cream walls, which have been painted long ago with donated money, create a morbid and dull atmosphere. In a corner stands a portrait of Shakespeare. It is ironical that the literary master's portrait be housed in a classroom where no serious teaching takes place. The children of the slum perhaps can never taste the joys of literature. Similarly, there is a picture of a beautiful valley full of fragrant flowers. The children can never experience their fragrance and beauty since they are condemned to live in the slum. The entire atmosphere in the school is one of inactivity and morbidity, which contrasts with the riches and the concrete domes which override the cities. The open-handed map of the classroom projects the world with all its bounties. Now coming to the fourth stanza, and yet for these children, these windows, not this map, their world, where all the future is painted with a fog. A narrow street sealed in with a lead sky, far, far from rivers, capes, and stars of the worlds. However, for these children, there is no world beyond their poverty and hunger. The rich world outside, which they view through their window, is not the real world. Their world is dark and misty, and their future is bleak. It is confined within the narrow, dusty streets and sealed in with a dull, smoky sky. These children are far from the rivers, mountains, stars, and education. Now, stars of the words actually stands for the good vocabulary. So they do not enjoy good education. So that is why they are away from this good vocabulary, good education, nature, everything. So future is painted with a fog. There, the children's future is compared to that of a fog. So that is why it's a comparison. So it's a metaphor. The lead sky. The sky is compared to lead in color as just like it's gray in color. Just like lead is gray in color. Similarly, the sky is poisonous and smoky and gray in color. So the color of the sky is compared to that of a lead, and there is no as or like. So the poetic device used is metaphor. Far, far. The word far has been repeated twice. So the poetic device is repetition. Now coming to the questions, a narrow street sealed in with a lead sky, what image does the statement bring to mind? A narrow street sealed in with a lead sky brings forth an image of street with small dingy hutments filled with the Large number of inhabitants with tall buildings hiding the sky, presenting a picture of a place covered with darkness. Lead sky symbolizes absence of hope, a sky laden with toxins and smog, obstructing the aspirations of slum children. Far, far from rivers, capes, and stars of the birds, just elucidate. Far, far from rivers, capes, and stars of the world, the poet wants to convey that these children are not only deprived of education but are also devoid of the bounty of nature. They cannot see the rivers or capes, or the knowledge that empowers the literate people will never be known to them. What is the color of the walls of the classroom? What does it signify? The walls have not been painted freshly, and the color of the walls of the classroom is sour cream, that is pale. It signifies that the future of the students studying in the classroom is also dull and depressing as the walls of the classroom. When the poet made a reference of open-handed map awarding the world its world, what he wanted to express. When the poet made a reference of open-handed map awarding the world its world, he wanted to express that only this map should remain an instrument to know the world, but these children be given to know the real world. The map also signifies hopes and aspirations, which motivates people to aspire for a world beyond their reach. The poet finds this map ironic, as for these children, their world is the classroom and probably they won't see any of the places mentioned in the world map. Now coming to the next stanza, surely Shakespeare is wicked, the map a bad example, with ships and sun and loves tempting them to steal. For lives that slyly turn in their cramped holes from fog to endless night. This is a very important question. Why is Shakespeare wicked and map a bad example? Now see, the Shakespeare is a literary genius. Nobody must have read. You here, no proper teaching is taught. So Shakespeare is a literary genius, and they will never be able to read whatever the literature which is written by him. So that is why Shakespeare is wicked. And why is map a bad example? Map is a bad example because it's a world map, and it talks about all the beautiful places in the world, and probably they'll never be visiting all these places. So that is why map is a bad example for them. So the poet further says that these children living in a slum area have faced so many hardships that they feel every other person to be their enemy. For them, Shakespeare is an evil, as the wisdom of literature doesn't enthrall them. They don't find the map to be a good thing. They were never liked or loved by anyone. Therefore, they hate almost everyone. Their desire of being loved by others and to curb their hunger, they are forced to steal. They live in small, overcrowded homes, and they have started adjusting to it. Their life is going towards an endless, harsh night. This means that the future is full of darkness. On their slag heap, these children wear skins peeped through by bones and spectacles of steel with mended glass, like bottles bits on stones. All of their time and space are foggy slums, so blot their maps with slums as big as doom. Skin peeped through by bones because it talks about that they have a very thin layer of skin on their body, so there is hardly any fat on their body. And spectacles has two meanings. One is the specs that you wear, and the other specs is the spectacle means nazara basically. So it talks about the childhood of the children get wasting on the heaps of slag. You know what is slag? Slag is the waste material that comes out of the ore once you're preparing metals. So they are generally spending most of their time in the slag and the garbage, and they look like mere skeletons as their bones peep through the cover of their thin skins. They rake in the garbage for leftovers. They wear discarded specs which are coarsely melted, and their body structure has a very thin framework like steel. Just like the steel specs have very thin framework, similarly their body structure is also very thin. The children spend all their time in these foggy slums. The slums where life is worse than death is a blot for the civilized world. There is an urgent need to blot out these slums by giving their inhabitants means and opportunities to lead a dignified and civilized life. The spectacles of steel, their body structure is compared to spectacles of steel, so it is a metaphor. Like bottle bits on stones, the dreams of these slum children have been shattered, just like once you hit a glass bottle to a stone, it turns into pieces. So similarly, their dreams are also shattered, their aspirations are shattered. So, so the comparison is there to the bottles, the comparison of the aspirations to the bottles, their wishes to the bottles, so it is a simile. Slums as big as doom. Slums have been compared to doom, that is destruction houses. So slums are breathing in danger, the disease. So that is why slums as big as doom. Slums are compared to destruction houses, and the word as is used, so simile is the poetic device used here. Now, what are spectacles of steel with mended glass? Spectacles of steel with mended glass objectively means that slum children are wearing spectacles discarded by the wealthy made of shattered or scratched glass, and they have a very lean framework similar to that in a pair of specs. Why do such children live there in cramped holes? Such children's lives twist and turn in their cramped holes. They try to sustain themselves in these tiny, uncomfortable, constricted homes. They slog to earn and toil to live despite all odds. The life is full of misery, suffering, and dejection as they stay in slums which are so small and pygmy as overcrowded holes. Why is map a bad example? The map is a bad example for these children as they can't enjoy the beauty of nature and the bright, beautiful world presented on that map. The map brings to them the presentation of the ships, sunny beaches, and the flowery valleys. They cannot relate to such things or places as this is the world they will never experience, nor will they ever get a chance to see. So this world they only aspire for, but they can never reach. Since the slum children cannot relate to these things, there is no point in quoting such examples. How is Shakespeare wicked? Shakespeare is wicked because its portrait in the classroom does not have any meaning for the slum children. Shakespeare is an epitome of literary excellence, but in slum school hardly any learning takes place. So these children will never be able to enjoy the literature of this literary genius. Now coming to the next stanza, unless governor, inspector, visitor, this map becomes a window and these windows that shut upon their lives like catacombs. Now what are catacombs? Catacombs are cemetery houses. जैसे coffin की तरह होते हैं ना, कब्र को कहते हैं catacombs. So the poet in this particular stanza appeals to people in power to do something unless and until they take charge, unless and until they decide to do something for these children, till that time they will continue to live in their lives as if like living dead. So the poet says that the government should take notice of the problems being faced by these kids. He urges them to change the life of these kids and make the world map a reality for them. There's a need to break the restrictions which are put on them due to poverty and lack of resources. He wants the governor and public to help these kids in achieving their dreams. He urges them to work till the world map displayed in the classroom becomes a vision of the future of these children. He wants them to save them from the lives that are sealed in the cemeteries of these slums. So lives just like catacombs. So their lives are just like catacombs. So there is a comparison to that. So the poetic device uses simile. So break open till they break the town and show the children to green fields and make their world run azure on gold sands and let their tongues run naked into books. The white and green leaves open. History theirs whose language is the sun. Now the poet wants to liberate the children from the horrendous and gory slums and let them breathe in a healthy environment. He would like to expose them to green fields and bask in the golden stands. They should have access to books on various topics. They should be provided a fundamental right to education. Ending on a positive note, the poet feels that people who are ignited by the fire of knowledge and learning are the ones who can create history. If they are allowed to reach their true potential, they will earn them a place in history and will be able to carve a niche for themselves. So break. So that twice the word break has been used, so it is repetition. White and green leaves open. So the poet says that when you see a small leaf being born, it is whitish in color and slowly and steadily it starts turning green. So he says that new avenues will be opened for these children if they are given the opportunity to learn. So white and green leaves open have been compared to the new avenues and the comparison is there and there is no usage of asolite, so it's a metaphor. So what does the poet want the authorities to do to bring these children in the mainstream? The poet wants the authorities to provide these children with quality education and liberate some children from the horrendous and gory life that they are leading. He would like to see these children bask in the golden sands and enjoy new lease of life and freedom. They should be rid of their dull and dreary routine and should not spend their entire lives in a small, dingy, overcrowded homes. These children can be brought to the mainstream by bringing meaningful changes to improve the standard of life and education in the slums. What change does the poet hope for in the lives of the slum children? The poet wishes for a better life for the children of these slums. He wants them to have access to education through books, because education is the key to prosperity. He would like to see these children bask in the knowledge imparted by education, run carefree on the golden sands, and enjoy the lease of life and freedom. They should be given countless opportunities to explore the world. Only through the power of cognition and the light of education can these children create a name for themselves. To whom does the poet in the poem An Elementary School Classroom in a Slum make an appeal? What is his appeal? The poet makes an appeal to his readers, especially the educated and the well-off people, government, bureaucrats, people in power, to help the poor children of the slum come out and get free from these miserable surroundings. His appeal is that these children should be given quality education because education holds the key to emancipation. They should also be provided with basic civic amenities, infrastructure, and opportunities to explore the world. Basically, getting a dignified life, a respectable life. Now, what are the images and symbols used in the poem? Gusty waves are waves with strong force. So this is the gusty waves. Rootless weeds. Rootless weeds are these unwanted plants that you can see here. The paper seeming boy, a very thin boy. Sour cream walls. Walls which are yellowish in color, pale yellow in color. Shakespeare's head. This is a portrait of Shakespeare that you can see. Tyrolese Valley. This is a picture of Tyrolese Valley in the Alpine region filled of beautiful flowers. The ships and suns. Ships and suns signify. Ships signify power, wealth, as sun signifies knowledge and education. Cramped holes stands for their overcrowded homes. Bottles bit on stones. So all these are images, and the golden sands are the images, basically desert. So all these are images, natural surroundings that the poet wants the slum children to move into. I hope you've understood the poem. If you like this video, please like, share, or subscribe. Thank you. Have a nice day. Happy learning.